Hi, everyone. I'm Arlene. Thank you for tuning in. I'm with Million Dollar Baby Co. You may know us through our brands like Baby Leto, Da Vinci, and Million Dollar Baby Classic. I've been on the sales team for 10 years now. I'm a proud mom of two, and I've had the privilege to serve on MDB's Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Committee for the last year. We are here today with Denisse Myrick, a new mom, talented photographer, an influencer, and so much more. She's here to talk about her experience from pregnancy to becoming a new mom, maternal care, and creating a community as a Black mom. Thank you, Denisse, for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. We are such huge Million Dollar Baby fans in my house, as I'm sure everyone knows from all the photos we post. But yeah, I am a photographer, like you mentioned. That's my main gig, and I am also an influencer. I work with brand strategy now and just so many things. I wear a ton of hats, but so far my favorite is I'm a new mom. I had my daughter Olivia last March, and we are so excited about that as her 1 year birthday is just around the corner. And we are actually in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm originally from the East Coast, Jersey, New York area, but moved here about 3 years ago.
That was a big transition for you from the
Yeah.
East Coast. How has the move been, and are you situated now?
Every time I'm like, "Ugh, I want to move back." I see, like, especially now, I see pictures of snow, and I'm like, okay, never mind. But it's been interesting because we've been now, in a different travel situation and living situation for the past two years now, and so we haven't been able to visit as much as I would have liked, and we haven't really had family here. So
Sure.
it's been interesting and like a little difficult, but we're pushing through.
So let's start at the beginning of your motherhood journey. What were your initial thoughts as soon as your pregnancy was confirmed, and how did you share the news with everyone?
Oh my God, I love this question. Okay, so I was freaking out like any first-time mom. Olivia for us was a planned pregnancy, so we had been trying. And based on like the knowledge that's out there, I really thought it was going to take a lot longer than it did. It only took us like 2 months. And so I was so grateful, like just so a little startled because I'm like, oh, this is really like this is happening. This like it's go time. And I told my husband, I was literally about to jump on a panel 10 minutes before I found out. And I was just like, hey, by the way, happy Saturday, we're pregnant. And ran to my office. And he was like, what? Are you kidding? Um, and as an influencer, you share a lot online. I'm sure everyone knows what an influencer is, and we all follow our favorites. And you share a lot of your life online. But I was really private about my pregnancy
Hmm.
because it was so difficult, especially with being sick all 9 months. And I didn't announce my pregnancy online until about 6 months. And that's
Wow.
really when everyone found out. Like my mom, my parents knew, or our parents knew, but otherwise, like no one else knew until I put up like a little video to share the news with everyone.
Oh, wow. That must have been tough to keep discreet, especially with all the content that you put out there. How did you do that from your family and everyone?
If you are curious and want to look at my Instagram during that time, I think I'm sitting down in every single photo. So, like
Okay,
just after a while, it wasn't even discreet. It's just like I'm not standing up anymore.
I see, I see. Okay, so your pregnancy was during a pandemic. Obviously, uh, not ideal, but what was that experience like? Um, and were there any surprises?
Yeah, that's I mean, I my hat goes off to anyone who's experiencing pregnancy during a pandemic. It was very difficult. Um, one of the most joyous times of our lives, also one of the most stressful and scary. because my husband couldn't be there for any of the appointments. I had to go
Right.
through everything alone, all the first, like your first sonogram, or sorry, your first ultrasound and your first, like you listen to the heartbeat and your first
Yes.
appointment. And he's just waiting in the car for me, and I didn't get to share that with him. And then all of the heightened like requirements and, just it was just a very stressful time. And so that was, I wish that we could have done it differently or at a different time, because it did make it a little lonely. But
Sure.
overall, we got through, and if there's a silver lining in it all, I did appreciate the level of like just health concerns and like the level or how far and above and beyond like hospitals were going to make sure everything was like clean and well, we felt pretty safe.
That's great. That's great to hear. So as soon as everyone found out, I'm sure that the next adventure was planning your nursery. I know that we first met you when you were designing your baby's nursery. So what was the design process like, and where did you find your inspiration?
Yeah, so I came across Baby Leto actually, a Million Dollar Baby Co. because I was on Pinterest and I was like, okay, I like was so specific about finding a green wall for Olivia's nursery. Like I wanted a moody green wall. And someone had featured some Million Dollar Baby products in their blog post. And I was like, okay, I want this exact nursery, like this whole
Oh,
thing. And it looks nothing like today. It looks nothing like that. It looks, it's very us. But I then went down a rabbit hole looking at all of Million Dollar Baby's products and just the amount of inspiration that you find through everything you guys post. Just the possibilities were endless with all of the pieces that you offer. And so we really didn't have like a direction in mind. I didn't have a direction in mind. I knew that like I didn't want it to just be like super neutral, but I also wanted to think, like far ahead where if we had to like reuse these pieces for another child or like, if these were going to be long-term pieces where we can add some cool knobs to the dresser and she can still use it when she's a teenager. Like I wanted pieces that had longevity.
sure.
And the most important thing to me was I wanted to purchase or work with a brand that gave back and that really cared about their community. That was like a deal breaker for me. Like if the company doesn't give back, if the brand doesn't, care about their community, then like I don't want it in my house. So that was the thing that really did it for me.
Okay, so what pieces did you decide on and why?
So we went with the Sprout crib and the matching dresser. We went with the Cali glider, and now we have the tub,
Tuba,
the tube,
tuba
sorry,
glider.
tuba, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
tuba. And we really like, I loved the mid-century look, and I love the two-tone. We have like the darker wood with the lighter wood. And it kind of just matched all the furniture in our house. So it was still like its own little room, its own little oasis, but it still looked, very cohesive with the rest of our home.
Yes, I see why you picked those pieces after following along and seeing your the pieces that are in your home. Definitely, I think for a lot of people, they want the versatility in the pieces that they choose.
Hmm.
So I can see why that you chose those pieces. Any word of advice for moms that are in the process of designing their nursery right now?
Yeah, I think a key word that you use that's really important is versatility. Like you want pieces that are versatile. I love that in a few years we'll be able to convert our crib into a toddler bed. Like that's really important for us, right? I love also that like the pieces that we chose don't look, like I guess too babyish. So like I mentioned before, she can use them when she's a teenager. She
Mhm.
can, it's the dresser that she can take with her, and it's the bed that she can convert into a full-size bed and take with her wherever she decides to go. So longevity and versatility, like some pieces that you find online are super cute, but they're not practical. And like,
Sure.
and thinking about being more earth friendly, kinder to the environment, and really conscious of the way that we use our space, I think all of those factors are really important to think about.
So I wanted to talk next about prenatal care and maternal mortality. It's been a hot topic over the past few years because celebrities and athletes like Serena Williams and Beyonce have come out sharing their personal experiences. And it really highlights Black women being at a greater risk of pregnancy-related complications and deaths, right? So studies have shown that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die of birth-related causes than white women. And this is really one of the largest racial disparities in women's health. So I wanted to talk about this with you. What was your experience like?
Yeah, of course. So my pregnancy experience was very scary. I have a blood disease called ITP, which is where I don't produce enough platelets. So my pregnancy was already sort of high risk, because you can basically just bleed out for like no reason.
Wow.
And the risk for ITP flaring is higher during pregnancy. Um, so I had to see a specialist a lot, and thankfully, my OB is my friend, Dr. Morgan West, and she works specifically for a hospital company that caters to or serves underserved communities and provides resources. And so
Wow.
I felt like really supported and taken care of by going there. I saw a lot of people that looked like me, and just like the area where it was, like I'm like, okay, cool, because I'm in Arizona and it's a very white state. Most doctors that you see are white, and most doctors that I saw, like I had to see a specialist, like that was a mostly white environment. And so you do have concerns, especially when you hear things like maternal, like death rate statistics. Like it's really scary, and it's something that I didn't really think about until I became pregnant myself.
Mm.
So I had a lot of fears. I had a lot of, just doing it by myself was really scary. I had morning sickness all 9 months at all times of the day. And
Oh
so
no.
having to like advocate for yourself because you're alone physically, and then also just being over it because you're sick, it was really just so difficult for me, so difficult. But I mean, luckily, like I said, I had Dr. West, who is a great advocate, and some of the partners at her where she works. But otherwise, though, I mean, I did experience a lot of scary moments, and moments where I had to advocate for myself.
Hmm. Hmm. I think just being a new mom is brings a lot of anxiety because you don't have a lot of control um, over the care that you're given.
Mm.
So what were some of the things that you took into account in the decisions to approach a specific doctor, and what kind of advice would you give to moms of color that are navigating that right now?
Yeah, of course. I was in a situation where Dr. West actually gave birth a month before I did. And so her pregnancy was a little early, and so she wasn't going to be available. And I had no idea, which is, do your research. I had no idea that like when you're like on your due date, if your doctor's not like you get whoever's on call basically.
Right,
I
right.
thought it was like I picked my flavor and that's the one, and no matter what she's doing, they'll call her. Um, and so I like literally had no idea that that wasn't the case. And I met with one of the doctors who really made me feel bad about myself, made me feel bad about
Mm.
being in a bigger body, or made me feel bad about, the concerns that I had, really dismissed my concerns and was very like nonchalant and brushed me off. And so, they said, this will probably be your doctor when you give birth.
Wow.
And I was terrified. I was terrified, and I walked out and I went to the car, and my husband was waiting for me, and I cried. And I was like, I have never felt like more body shamed and just like scared in my, like, I'm already scared as a new mom, like you mentioned.
Right.
And I, that afternoon I called back and I was like, hey, I'd like to see another doctor. Because I didn't, and I said why. I wasn't like, I'm gonna be nice. And you have that like fear, like I don't want to be the angry, black or brown woman. Um, I don't want to start anything. I was like, no, he made me feel incredibly uncomfortable, and I do not want him anywhere near me during labor. And they made sure of that. They made sure that he wasn't near me at all. The doctor that ended up delivering Olivia was not even on call that day. He came just for us, which was incredible. And if I had any advice, it's advocate for yourself. You are your best advocate. And I already had a pretty traumatic birth. Had I not advocated for myself, I think it would have been even scarier.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I think I would have the same concerns complaining to a medical group about one particular
Yeah.
doctor, right?
Hmm.
Um, wow, thanks for sharing that. I think
Yeah.
a lot of moms may not feel comfortable advocating for themselves. I personally ended up, my daughter was breached, and so I had a planned C-section. So I did get the doctor that I wanted, but I didn't realize until maybe towards the end of my pregnancy that that was actually the case. You don't get your doctor, you get whoever is on call. So I
Yeah.
hope that's communicated to more women early on so that they could prepare for that.
I agree.
So let's pivot into your platform. We've been following along in your parenting journey, and all of us at MDB love how you approach topics on your platform. And I think it's really important to talk about some of the things that you have. You touch on diversity, mental health, and a lot of social justice issues that we've seen in the past few years in particular.
Mhm.
Would you share why it's been so important for you to touch on through your platform?
Yeah, of course. I think with a platform comes a lot of responsibility, kind of like Spider-Man. You have that responsibility to reach, like I have, 40,000 followers. And so I have the opportunity to show up and educate my community, right? And provide resources for my community because my community is mostly filled with other Black and Brown women. And we are all part of a greatly underserved community.
Mhm.
And for me, it's important because there are so many gatekeepers to resources, so many gatekeepers to information that is not readily available to us because of the color of our skin or who we are, where we're from. And so you see the disparities, especially in influencing. You see the pay disparity, the opportunity disparity. You hear, when you share something, which is what really did it for me, I would share a story or share something, and I would get so many messages like, "Oh my God, me too. I didn't know. I thought I was alone. Oh my God, thank you so much. I tried what you said, at my doctor's appointment, and it worked." Like, one instant I shared, that if you want to get a hormonal workup done or something, and your doctor is saying, no, because it's an expensive test. And your doctor says, no, like, you don't need that, or I don't want to do that. Make sure that they document the refusal, right? They have to document it. And so many women were like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could
I didn't
ask.
know that either.
Yeah, like I didn't know you could ask for a specific like exam. Like if you see something online and you're like, oh, that sounds a lot like what I feel. I would like to know if my hormones are fine or if, I would like blood work done. Um, and they have to document the refusal and they have to say why. And most of the time, in my experience, they do it because they're not, they don't want to go that route. And so, just even teaching people how to advocate for themselves medically, through influencing, like through work, through pay, through
Mm.
opportunity, like, and seeing their response and seeing other people just flourish through that really, really like set that fire like in my heart. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be a resource to my community.
Yeah. So how did you navigate sort of the topics? Obviously, there's so many points of views and lots of opinions out there. How did you navigate that on your platform?
It's hard. It ebbs and flows. Like I lose followers all the time, like when we started really talking about race, colorism, racism a few years ago, like I got like 10,000 new followers, and then as soon as that died down, everyone stops unfollowing you, because no one needs to follow women of color or black women anymore. And so I stopped paying attention to like the different voices, the different opinions, because everyone has one, like you mentioned. And like I realize and I acknowledge that I'm not for everyone, that my platform is not for everyone. And that's okay, because if I was, I'd be spread too thin and I'd probably hate it, right? Like the people who are meant to be part of my community will find me and we will mesh and they will find great resources through me, I hope, and some laughs and cute pictures of Olivia. But otherwise, if you like just kind of drive yourself crazy with the opinions and the the poorly worded messages or the insults or the political opinions and everything, then you'll never show up for your community because you'll be scared of what people think of you. And like the only people I actually like care what they think of me is like my dog, my daughter, and my husband. Like those are the people. Like as long as my dog is obsessed with me and my daughter is obsessed with me and my husband loves me, I am content.
So how has, I mean, the building of the community is so important, right? Building that tribe that's going to help you and your family day to day. Can you tell me how your social community has really impacted you personally and as a mother?
Yes, of course. I follow and have so many women who are mothers in my community, and that was like such a relief for me because, especially being pregnant during the pandemic, like you can't go out to a mommy group. You can't go out
Mhm.
being pregnant during the height of the pandemic, where you can't go out to the park and you can't go to parenting classes, you can't go to newborn like classes. You're kind of on your own. So I really, really leaned into my community for help. I leaned into
Yeah.
my community for recommendations on everything from diaper cream to, like what do I do for this specific, like what kind of, mattress should I get? What kind of this should I get? Like, is this an okay brush? Is this an okay like bath product? um, and even just hearing other women's stories, about their postpartum experience or their pregnancy like experience, what they did for morning sickness, like I really, really felt loved and supported um,
Mm.
through my community, and I just felt like it was the whole thing was like a big hug from like all those people. It was amazing. I'm so grateful.
That's so great. I think when I became a mom, that it was really the beginning of mommy groups on Facebook, and there was just too much, and I was
Hmm.
not familiar or comfortable with the many opinions that you get if you just simply ask one question.
One
Um,
question.
yeah, lots of judgment, and so I really leaned out of that space and had to find it in my community. But I can understand that during a pandemic, you're not, we weren't seeing anyone, at the
Yeah.
beginning. And so I think that's great that you found that. Do you have any words of advice for how to find the right group for you? How do you create the boundaries and find that tribe for yourself when you're limited? Well, I won't say limited, when there's just so much out there.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It is, as a first time mom, I was like overwhelmed. If I just like, should I sleep train? You're gonna find a million articles and 50,000 moms telling you no, and then telling you yes and
Yeah,
why, and yes, maybe
exactly.
why, and yes, no, maybe why. You're just like, I just want a yes or no in an article. Like, that's all I want. And so it's overwhelming. Like, it's overwhelming
It
because
is.
you're dealing with mom guilt and you're dealing with the fear of like, am I going to be a good parent? Like, all I have to do is keep this person alive. Like, that's it. And so just to reiterate, like it is very overwhelming and there's so much information out there and it's not all good information. We've learned that in the
Mhm.
past few years on the internet. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And so
Totally.
I was really intentional. One of the things that I am pretty good at, and is why I say I'm not for everyone, is that I'm very good at vocalizing my boundaries. So I would share something like, "Ugh, I'm having the worst morning sickness and blah blah," and I would asterisk not asking for remedies or recommendations. Um,
Mm,
we're going shopping for a stroller. These are the things, whatever, like not asking for recommendations. If I was asking for a recommendation or something, I would always be clear about it. Hey, I need your help. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z, and I would love to know what you know. And so setting boundaries is really, really important. If you're
hmm.
looking for a group, which I know now because we're still in a pandemic, people are leaning in towards online groups. And to be quite honest, I'm only part of one mom group. And
Okay, please share with us what
yes,
group is this?
it does it all for me. And it's one of my favorite human beings on this planet is Myleik Teal. She is incredible. She is the CEO of Curlbox. She is just such a powerhouse, such an amazing Black woman. And I started following her right around, I think right before I gave birth or right around when I gave birth. And she also has a little girl named Olivia, and she's also like a CEO, a hustler, and I love that. And just hearing the way that she talked about parenting and navigating everything and the boundaries she set. And she also introduced me to Dr. Becky, which is one of my favorite resources, Dr. Becky of Good Inside. And so those are my two main resources for like my mommy group stuff. That's literally, I don't go anywhere else. That's it.
Wow. Well, I think it's always great to hear um, about your top people that you're following. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of that because it just helps you start somewhere, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
see what they're about. And if you love them, you can start following who they follow, and you could start creating that network and that community for yourself. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Those are great suggestions. So I heard your daughter's name is Olivia. My daughter's name is also Olivia.
Such a great
Um,
name.
yes, it is. Um, when now that she is here and you're a mom, how old is she now?
She is going to be 11 months next week. Yeah.
Okay, so very close to being a year old. What stage is she in? Is she cruising? Yeah, yeah.
So she's not walking just yet, but like the other day she stood for like 60 seconds on her own. We have our walker and she's like, man, a teenager in like a Ferrari. Like she is just like cutting corners, reversing, like she literally
Oh,
like puts her hand here and
okay.
like looks back. Like she's a trip.
Wow. Personally, I love the stage. It's really the time I think where they're still reaching for you and they want you for security and for love, but it's really when they begin to attempt a literal step towards their independence.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that stage. It's also a time where you can see more of their like personality shine through.
Yes.
So what are you seeing in Olivia? Is she fearless? Is she risk averse?
Oh my gosh, she is fearless like my husband. Looks
Okay.
exactly like my husband. Like that's just him. I was an incubator. She's his clone. But she's a lot of me. She's pretty fiery, she's pretty spicy. She's I feel like she's already great at setting physical boundaries. Like sometimes, we'll like lean in and try to like kiss her or something, and she'll be like, "I'm okay, thanks." um, she's very much, kids go through that I do it phase. Like, I want to do it, I'll do it. And
Mm.
she's very much going through that, which is just showing her independence. She's very strong-willed. Like we were feeding her last night. And we let her, make her mess and everything and try different textures. And she was just like, please give me the spoon, leave the plate, and back up. Thanks. Like, I got this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you ready to like start driving? And should we be looking at colleges? Like, geez, let me just love you this a little longer. And so it's exciting. It's like a little bit sad, because I read this thing that really put what I was feeling into perspective for me. And it said, I think I saw it on Twitter. It said you enjoy like you I'm gonna paraphrase, but you enjoy those moments with your children, right? Where they're like growing, but then you sit back and you think, I'm never going to know or see my baby in this moment ever again, in this
Hmm.
stage. Like every day that they grow, they get smarter and older. You don't get that person again. I mean, they flourish and they're amazing, but you still grieve that little bit of like, you're never going to be this small again. Like, you're not going to need me, this out loud, this pronounced for so much,
Hmm.
for much longer. And so it's bittersweet.
100%. I will attest to feeling the exact same way. But Denise, I will tell you, every stage, and a lot of people tell you, this is the best stage, or this is my favorite age, and things like that. But every stage is really just amazing for what it is. So as
Yeah.
soon as then they start walking and then they start running, and you just think like, oh, I want my baby back. But you start seeing them do so much more when they start talking, and you just realize that every stage really is amazing in and of itself. So don't be sad.
That's
There are
comforting.
many wonderful stages to come, and it just doesn't stop. So.
Thank you. I like to hear stuff like that because that's like really comforting, because you love your babies, and this is my first baby, and so I'm like, if I could watch you grow, but I could hold
Mhm.
you this small and we could both watch you grow from a distance, that would be great.
Yes. And I try to capture those moments in videos and in
Yeah.
photos. And that's why I feel like a lot of my own camera roll and all of my mom friends' camera rolls are just filled with repeats, and us really trying to capture that moment. And when you look back, it's not the same. It's really within your memory and within your heart. It's just not the same when it's on in a photo or in a video.
Yeah, but you made a great point. So, I have like 12,000 photos right now
Yes,
and
same.
like so many more backed up, and it's like I don't have a lot of photos from when I was little. And so I tell everyone, take all the photos, back them up, print all the photos. Like we just bought a baby
Mm,
book so that I can put some pictures in it. Because I'm like, one day, like you won't even, you'll be like, oh my God, you used to look like this when you were little, I think. I don't know.
right.
And all you'll have is photos. So print your
Yes.
photos, take photos, do it all.
I'm gonna totally take you up on that word of advice, because I don't ever print them out, and it's just in a computer somewhere or backed up somewhere because I can't hold it all in my phone and I run out of
Yeah.
memory. But I think I'll do that and create like a memory book or something every
Yes,
year.
yes. I encourage everyone to do that. You never know, like my stuff is on the cloud and you just never know. Technology
Yes,
is as reliable as it is, you want that
sure.
physical thing that you can hand down
Yes.
and your kids can show their kids, etc. So,
I love that. Earlier, you mentioned Olivia does not look like you. So you and I have talked about this important topic before, which is your experience as a multiracial parent, Olivia, and parenting a multiracial daughter. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's like?
yes, of course. So my husband is white and I am Afro-Caribbean from the Dominican Republic. My daughter very much looks like my t-shirt and she's very, very pale. Um, she has his face, his cheeks, like everything. She looks like a splitting image of him. And I was a nanny for 11 years before moving out here. And I've gotten a lot of, weird remarks. People make remarks
Mm,
about their bodies, their hair, the oh, great thing, she has your husband's hair. Great thing, good thing she looks like your husband, or good thing she's lighter. Good thing and you think about stuff like that because you're like, oh, like I wonder what
absolutely.
her experience will be in the world as a white presenting person versus, someone who looks like me. And so I've gotten, I had a lady ask me at the park if I was her nanny. And I mean, our nanny looks more like her mom than I do. Um, so I think sometimes I take it as an opportunity to educate people. They
Mhm.
don't know better, it's very easy to just assume. Um, and I'm prepared to get that for the rest of forever. She just doesn't, I keep waiting. Like you said, people tell you a lot of things, and I keep waiting for that. In a month, she'll start to look like you. Oh yeah, she'll start to look like you. They morph into you. They morph into you, and it's like every single month that passes, she looks more and more like my husband. It's wild.
Oh, wow.
So, I am ready for those tough conversations that I'll have to have with her when, if anyone ever says anything, or kids say things, kids hear adults say things. And so I'm very ready to make sure that my daughter is educated, that I do my best to make sure that she knows that I love who I am, and I love my skin, and I love our culture, and I love my heritage. And I'm so excited to pass that down to her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she's turning a year old. I feel like we're always reflecting about the past year experience.
Mhm.
What has been the most joyful moments around motherhood?
Oh my gosh, I don't even think I could narrow it down if I had to. Just there are so many pockets of joy, just hearing her giggle. Like sometimes I'll be on a call, or I'll just, be doing something in the kitchen, and I'll hear her with my husband, and she's just cracking up. Or, just like I
Mm,
love her laugh. So just playing with her, and like she laughs till she cries, which is amazing. Like her eyes just get watery, and she's laughing and laughing. And I'm like, you're 10 months. I didn't even know you could do that. And just seeing, like just seeing her become her own person, like seeing,
mhm.
how we taught her the sign for gentle, and she says thank you now,
Mm,
and just like little things like that, where you just see like, ugh, I feel like most moms think, when you think your kid is the cutest, everything is the best. Oh my God, everything is like a photo worthy moment. Like for me, everything is like a joyful moment, even the scary things. Olivia was born
mm.
with a heart murmur, and we just went yesterday for her 10-month checkup, to see, where we're at. And her murmur's gone. She's great. She's perfectly normal and healthy. And like even that, like moments like that, where you're just like
Yes.
so thankful. Like, so, just because you worry about your children and everything is like a Google situation, like I cut her nail too deep. Like, is she gonna hate me forever? I'm just finding pockets of joy in the little moments with her, in the big moments, and the big moments that
Mm.
really set up the future. So I don't know, they're all amazing.
Oh, I love that. I think for me, when I think back to my kids being, less than a year old or just before a year old, um, I loved sitting and reading a book to them. I feel like the glider, or wherever you're sitting, a rocker with your child, to read, to talk, to hold them, to feed them, was just such an intimate moment for me. So my advice has always been, find that space where you're going to have that one-on-one intimate moment with your kids. So I know you have the tuba glider.
Yes.
I'm sure I've seen on your Instagram that you have a bookshelf that is very well decorated, which
Thank
I
you.
love. I can't do that myself, but
Yeah, ask me kid number two if I'm still doing that.
is there a favorite book that she has right now?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, one of the things that I really like to do is she has like a house bookshelf. And I like to decorate it for every holiday. So the upcoming holiday is Valentine's Day, and so every book is on theme. And there's a book that she loves, which is so cool because she just recently, I would say in the last month, started like reaching for books, asking to be read to.
Mm,
And so she loves this book called Cuddlebug, and
yes.
we have to read it like 7 times before bed.
Oh, wow.
And every time I put it back, she's like, no, 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 bring it back, please. Start over. And so I love that, and we upgraded from the Cali to the tuba because I love the space that you get. And
Mm,
so like even sometimes during the day after we change her diaper, like I'll sit in it with her, and she'll like sit next to me and reach for a book, and we'll read during the day. And I really love that like as she gets older, we can still share that space together. Like
mhm.
that's our space. And I love also that it's spacious enough for her to sit on her own and kind of chill out there, read a book, when they start
Mhm.
pretending that they know how to read and the book is upside down and it's so cute. And she can kind of just sit there and do her thing. But yeah, right now she's obsessed with Cuddlebug. I know it by heart.
And I mean, you have a lot of books out there. It's not just a couple. You found a great diverse set of books every holiday. So
Yeah.
how do you go about choosing that content? And um, is there a resource that you use so that you are making the library diverse?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mentioned the Valentine's Day library, but she has two shelves that are right above her crib, securely placed above her crib. And right now, that's all Black History Month. So it's amplifying Black
Mm,
voices. And I usually just will do a quick Google search for like specifically Black history. I'll say like Black children's authors, or we
mm,
do board books because she's at that age where they're very like into touching things, and so I don't want her to get
yes.
paper cut. So I'll say board books by Black authors. And you find things on sources like Amazon, or if you're into something else like thrifting books, I think it's thriftbooks.com is a great resource. You can find your local library. You can always ask them to carry some books, your local bookshop.
Mm,
But I usually just do a Google, I make a list. And if you're like more into budgeting, which I didn't know for holiday books, you can go to like your local stores like the TJ Maxx's, the Marshalls, and all that, and they have like a whole children's book section, which is really cool.
wow. Okay, that's great. That's a great start for everyone who is pregnant. I feel like books, you can never go wrong with books. At MDB, they throw obviously they throw you a baby shower at work. And for my baby shower for Olivia, they made it book themed.
I
And
love that.
everyone brought a book for me. And so I was so thankful that before she even came, I just had this whole bookshelf full of all these different books and different authors. And it was just favorites of everybody. And so often people just write little dedications to her, and she still has it. It's still in her room. And so I just love that you do that. I think decorating and in the nursery, books just bring, I don't know, life to a room. So I
Yeah.
love that you do that.
Thank you. I love it. I mean, my next project is a birthday shelf. So I'm like on the hunt for books that
Okay.
celebrate her. And luckily, with the name Olivia, which became popular, I
Yes,
think within the last year, there are so many Olivia books, which is
there are.
awesome.
There are, and they're all so cute and
Hmm.
bringing life to a lot of lessons that kids need to learn. So they don't just last, a short period of time.
For
I love
sure.
those books. Yes. What last words of advice do you have? Is there any hope that you have for this upcoming generation of Black parents?
Yeah, if I had any advice, it's advocate for yourself.
Mm,
And partner and seek out people that would advocate for you. Those are the people that you want in your circle. That when you're down, like, my labor and that was really hard. I pushed for 4 hours and then had an unplanned C-section, and I was tired. And conversations about advocating and what kind of how I wanted to be advocated for were something that I had to have with my husband. I said,
mm,
if I find myself in a place where I cannot make these kind of decisions, or you see that I'm just so like out of it, this is my birth plan. This is what I want. These are the steps that I want you to work towards. And my husband was on it. In that labor room, he said, nope, she doesn't want that. Nope, she doesn't want that. Nope, don't touch her. Nope, she doesn't need that check. We already did that an hour ago. And so, just having those tough conversations, set yourself up to be
mm,
taken care of, because unfortunately, we do live in a place where Black and brown women aren't really, taken care of as well as white women,
mhm.
or white presenting women. And so, advocate, you deserve all of the care, love, attention, in the world, especially when you're in such a vulnerable state. Being pregnant, giving birth is such a vulnerable thing. And we need more people talking about this, have the conversations. I didn't know a lot of what I knew until people started having conversations and being vulnerable and honest. And I
Mm,
learned and I asked questions, and I reached out to other people and asked for their experience. And so talk to each other about these issues. Um, seek local resources, seek if you can donate to resources in your area that cater to or serve underserved communities, do
mm,
just that. I'm very hopeful that I am part of a generation and part of a community of people that really advocate for themselves and others. And I feel like through the example that we're trying to set and that I personally am trying to set, that really encourages and inspires people to speak up for themselves, to speak up for others, to give a voice to the voiceless. And I feel like through that, our care will become more of a normal thing and a priority. So I'm hopeful and I'm excited and I'm very, very proud to be part of my community and this generation.
for sure. I think one of the common feedback that I've received was that your birth plan never goes as planned for a lot of people. And so I love that you talked about contingency plans with your significant other. I think it's important to really have someone know exactly what your hopes are and what you want done for yourself. So I think that's going to just be so helpful for people who haven't even thought about, what that could look like once you get into a hospital.
100%. Yeah. And those conversations can be uncomfortable. That's the thing. Those conversations can be uncomfortable. But I think that was one of the moments I felt the safest, when I was so relieved that we had already talked about all those things. And I had expressed my concerns with my doctor. I said, this is how I feel, and I'm scared. I'm
Mhm.
scared. And, and he made me feel validated, and surround yourself with people that make you feel that, really, really affirm that your feelings are valid. And you don't feel dismissed and you don't feel like, if you do, move on to the next one if you can and if you have the resources to.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's just such a great point. Um, so I would say that as moms, we are most influential to our children. So that said, what is your hope for Olivia?
Um, we asked ourselves that question a lot. What kind of
Mm,
child we hoped, or what kind of person we hoped Olivia would be. Um, and I just hope that Olivia is kind. I hope that
mm,
she's kind. I hope that she's kind to herself, kind to others. I obviously hope that she sets great boundaries and looks out for herself and looks out for others and speaks up for others when they can't. But above all, I hope to raise a kind and respectful child, a child who respects
mhm.
herself and respects others, and really is just compassionate, firm in her beliefs, firm in her boundaries, and overall, just lives a beautiful life.
Aw, I hope that in 5, maybe 7 years, Olivia is going to look back to this interview and hear
Mm.
that. And I think that it's just gonna, I think it for our parents, there was nothing like this footage to look back on to talk
Yeah.
about hopes and your wishes for your children. So I think for Olivia, when she looks back and thinks, wow, before I even turned 1, this is what my mom wanted for
Yeah, she's
me.
gonna make me cry.
I think it's going to be so
It's I
special. I'm
love that.
really looking forward to that.
Thank
Um,
you.
I mean, as a baby furniture company, for us, it's really important to create a space for diverse perspectives from all parents and from all different backgrounds. We love that. We want to celebrate it. And we know that every parent's experience is different. And obviously, we want to be able to like highlight that. Um, as you share your experience here with us and on your platform, I know it's really going to help others navigate um, their lives. And I'm just so grateful and thankful that we had this conversation. I think that this was fun.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do this again soon, but I just wanted to thank you for joining us and being such an amazing partner to collaborate with.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, the feeling is mutual. In my home, we feel like Million Dollar Baby. You guys are family. And I'm so, so honored to partner with you, even from the beginning, how you guys advocate for the underserved community, how you guys give back to the community, how your entire, ethos is just about community. It's just seriously such an honor. Such an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to get to know Denisse, you can follow her on Instagram at Chasing Denisse. And you can also check out her amazing nursery on her website at chasingdenisse.com.
Thank you.